Dear viewers, our topic today is the tragic price of the American dream in Arthur Miller's thought-provoking play Death of a Salesman. Miller's Death of a Salesman is a searing critique of the American dream or the myth of success and a redefinition of tragedy in modern literature. Through the life of Willy Loman, a struggling, aging salesman, Miller interrogates America's promise of prosperity and exposes the personal and emotional toll it takes on those who chase it blindly. Miller positions Willy not as a fallen king, but as a common man destroyed by illusion, thereby challenging the Aristotelian idea that tragedy must involve nobility. Willy's downfall results not from villainy but from a fatal flaw, his rigid belief in a false vision of success. The American dream, promise or illusion. The American dream promises that anyone, regardless of background, can succeed through hard work and determination. For Willy Loman, this dream is rooted in being well liked, admired, and personally charming. He believes these traits guarantee success rather than skill, integrity, or adaptability. He repeats stories of popularity and idolizes men like Dave Singleman, whom he sees as embodying effortless prosperity and dignity. But Miller debunks the emptiness of his dream and, for that matter, the emptiness of the American dream. Willy's belief that personal charisma ensures financial and social advancement proves tragically mistaken. As his professional life collapses, it becomes clear that the economy rewards productivity, innovation, and competence, not charm. His inability to adapt reflects what Aristotle defined as hamartia, the tragic flaw that brings about a character's ruin. His refusal to recognize the reality of the modern business world and his insistence on outdated ideals seals his fate. Biff's awakening and the collapse of illusion. Willy's sons, Biff and Happy, inherit his distorted values. Biff, once a promising athlete, becomes disillusioned after discovering his father's affair. This moment shatters not just his trust but the myth of his father's success. He realizes that the dream his father lived by is not only untrue but destructive. Biff's journey toward truth sets him apart from the rest of the family. He confronts his failures and declares, "I am not a leader of men, Willy, and neither are you." By rejecting Willy's fantasy, Biff embraces self-awareness and honesty over societal approval. In contrast, Happy clings to Willy's ideals, pursuing women and superficial success, but remains morally shallow. Through Biff, Miller suggests that there is redemption in self-knowledge and in abandoning delusions, but the pain of disillusionment, the emotional inheritance of a failed dream, lingers across generations. Is the dream attainable? Willy Loman represents the average working man who is promised success if he plays by the rules. Yet, despite decades of labor, he remains financially insecure, emotionally unstable, and professionally unrecognized. His dream of owning a house and raising successful children never materializes. Even his home, that classic emblem of middle class prosperity, becomes a symbol of disappointment, surrounded by apartment buildings and weighed down by mortgage payments. The house no longer represents security, it is a prison. He romanticizes the past, clinging to idealized memories as a way to avoid confronting his failures in the present. The world he works for discards him without remorse. When Willie asks his employer Harvard for support, he is met with cold detachment. In one of the most devastating lines, Willie pleads, "You can't eat the orange and throw the peel away. A man is not a piece of fruit." This image encapsulates how capitalism exploits workers and disposes of them once they are no longer productive. Willie has become the peel, discarded after years of use. The personal and familial cost. More than a social critique, Death of a Salesman is a portrait of emotional collapse. Willie's obsession with success blinds him to the loyalty and love within his own family. He fails to recognize his wife Linda's unwavering support or understand Biff's desire to live an authentic life outside the narrow terms of business success. Willie's pride also keeps him from accepting help. He repeatedly refuses job offers from Charlie, his more practical and grounded neighbor. This refusal is not just about independence, it stems from a deep-seated belief that to accept help is to admit failure. That pride isolates him and accelerates his downfall. Linda's plea, "He is not the finest character that ever lived, but he is a human being and a terrible thing is happening to him, so attention must be paid," delivers the emotional heart of the play. Miller demands recognition not only for Willie's suffering, but for the struggles of all common people crushed by false ideals. The tragedy here is not of kings but of clerks, and Miller insists that it is no less important. Willie's final act, a tragic miscalculation. Willie's suicide, intended as an act of redemption, reveals how deeply the American dream has corrupted his understanding of self-worth. He believes that the life insurance payout will enable Biff to succeed and finally justify his own life. In his eyes, his death becomes the only way to achieve value. Yet, this act underscores the fundamental flaw in his thinking. Even in death, Willie equates worth with money. He sees himself not as a father or husband, but as a financial asset to be cashed in. His dream has consumed him so fully that he dies for it, not realizing that what his family needed all along was not his success but his presence. Conclusion. A tragedy of the modern everyman. Death of a Salesman is a modern tragedy that exposes the dangers of chasing hollow dreams. Willie Loman is not a great man by conventional standards, but Miller insists that his life matters. He expands the boundaries of tragedy to include the common man, arguing that the emotional and psychological toll of modern society is just as devastating as the fall of kings. Through Willy's downfall, Miller critiques a culture that prizes status over substance, wealth over worth, and illusion over truth. The American dream, when pursued without reflection, can dehumanize, isolate, and ultimately destroy. Willy's life and death ask us to reconsider our values. Are we living by our own truths or by myths we have been sold? As Linda says in the final lines, surrounded by grief and silence, we are free, but freedom here is bitter and tragic. It comes not from triumph, but from release, from the unbearable weight of dreams that never came true. Thank you very much.